good now. So maybe just thumbs up or confirm that you see my screen. So currently you should see Oasis developer courses. Okay, I have one thumbs up. Thank you, Kraft. Cool. So yeah, I will begin with this um, portal, right? So essentially, what we will talk today is Oasis Developer Academy. So first of all, the idea behind is to have a portal where we can onboard people who are interested in Web3, in let's say blockchain, in Oasis, and continue or moving from that to build, let's say, our blockchain or Emerald paradigm, on Cipher paradigm, on Parcel essentially, and also with the newest confidential paradigm, so confidential EVM paradigm called Sapphire. So again, the idea is that we will host, let's say, on oasisprotocol.org, you can find the developers, let's say, menu, and then you will find these courses, tab. So if you will click on these courses, you will find this webpage, this portal, let's say, where you can start, let's say, listening, or you can start reading through the slides. So you will have both options. Currently, there are only two courses for the beginning. So we have Oasis 101 and we have Oasis, let's say, course number 2 called Oasis Emerald, our EVM compatible blockchain. And you can actually go through the slides if you click on slides, open the slides, or you can actually listen to myself, to me, because I was actually producing these courses, and actually listen and follow me through with also some examples, and maybe some guides that you can use also for yourself. So essentially the goal here is to get familiar everyone who wants to participate in Oasis ecosystem, that you can always find us, the team, the developers, the community managers, and so on Discord. And that we have also a webpage where you can find guides, how-tos, documentation about our paradigms and so on. So really how to build or how to start building on Oasis network, right? So that's pretty cool. So first thing that I will do here is now I will go through the Oasis 101 course just to give you an idea what's included, and that it's really meant for beginners, as you see, right? So for beginners, it means that you don't have to be, crypto guru. You don't need to be a developer. You don't need to be an expert. But you can actually start if you're a Web2 developer. If you're someone who wants to learn about how to start, how to begin with blockchain, right? So essentially, you can start with Oasis 101. In this course, so if you click on Open Slides, I will just choose my slides here. I will just double check that you see that. Yeah, okay, it's good. So if you will open the slides, right, you will see Oasis 101. So what we did here, right, is actually I built this course for all people who wants to onboard to Oasis or to blockchain. So that's why we have this agenda or course flow with really basic stuff, introductory stuff, so you can get familiar with the Oasis ecosystem, right? So that's also good for people already using our blockchain or any blockchain actually, to get familiar how, let's say, it's the right way to do it, or what are the options. For example, for transferring some rows or other assets to Emerald, to EVM blockchains, or bridge between different chains. So yeah, I will walk you through, but again, keep in mind that this would take you probably all together, let's say, with all the examples and so on, around 1 hour and a half or two if you're doing the examples and practicing, with me in the course. But yeah, essentially, I will walk you through today in 30 minutes just to give you an idea. So yeah, the first thing is Oasis network overview. So you probably saw this architecture picture quite a few times. And just to give you an idea, right? So Oasis is a unique blockchain because we have two separated layers. So we have layer one, our consensus layer. We have our layer two, where we have so-called paratime. So these are essentially the computations layers, right? All isolated from consensus and also isolated from other paratimes. Essentially, it means that we have, let's say, one where this the emerald EVM, let's say paratime, so EVM blockchain if you want. And this will not affect any other, let's say, blockchains or paratimes or computations because it's isolated and it's like standalone chain. Now, what they have in common? They have in common consensus layer, right? So in that way, we can scale really, really good, and we have high potential to host, multiple dApps, thousands or hundreds of thousands, with a great, latency, responsive time, finality is instant, and so on, right? So it's really awesome architecture, and I'm pretty proud that we have that kind of devs capable of delivering that secure and scalable architecture. Okay. Here is some kind of comparison between other networks. Keep in mind that we are touching the consensus layer here, and you will notice one thing: since the paratimes, let's say the confidential paratime, the EVM paratime, and so on, right? They share the same consensus, and because of that, they will have pretty cool low, let's say, time of average block time, around 6 seconds. You can also verify that if you go to one of our block explorers like Emerald Explorer. So you will see it's around probably 6.4 or so seconds. And the finality, it's pretty awesome because it's instant. We have proof of stake mechanism here. So yeah, you can notice how we compare to other chains, right? So that's pretty cool because you see that we can beat a lot of protocols, but essentially the biggest benefit you will notice is having this privacy built in on many levels, let's say on Parcel Paratime or Parcel SDK. And currently we already launched the Sapphire EVM confidential paratime, which is the most exciting thing currently on the market because it's the first of its kind. So there is kind of explanation or short, insight into the Cypher paratime. Keep in mind that we will, or I will prepare the Cypher paratime course number 3, let's say, which is coming out probably around in a week or two. So you will notice that here we are, developing in Rust language. And then, these smart contracts are compiled to WASM or WebAssembly, right? And then you can actually write confidential smart contracts, because Cypher paratime actually has confidential or private state and also public state. So Cypher, it's kind of awesome for people who don't really, prefer or like EVM chains, but they want to write smart contracts and code in Rust, and they like WebAssembly, WASM. That's pretty awesome because everything is actually, all the computation, if you want, is done inside this secured environment, right? So it's called TE, or Trusted Execution Environment, which is the Intel SGX enclave underlying architecture, right? So it's also scalable, decentralized. Rose, by the way, is a native token across all the blockchains, let's say on layer 1 and on all the paratimes. So keep in mind that the Rose is the token for all the transactions and staking and so on. Parcel paratime, so basically it's an SDK. If, for example, enterprises can use that pretty, in a pretty good way, because there is so-called data manager who can actually define how data will be maybe analyzed, allowed, or how long. So we have some, for example, a time, window when you want to share and so on, right? So we can do some analysis on our data, for example, on some, I don't know, maybe pictures, maybe mathematical functions, or some data about weather, about blood pressure, whatever, right? Without revealing the data. So it's still encrypted. Yeah. And also, the data is always maintained in immutable ledger for audit, because we want to be compliant. We want to have this cool stuff. Now, in module 2, we're actually explaining our wallets. So basically, at this point, we have two official wallets. It's Oasis Wallet Web and Oasis Wallet Browser Extension. So, uh, just to give you an idea, right? Web wallet could be used for, you will note, for transactions, receiving, sending your rows, or for staking, or let's say delegating your tokens to validators. So essentially, there is explanation, how different addresses are, so that you know how to distinguish between our consensus layer Oasis address and also the, let's say, Ethereum compatible address, which are used usually on Ethereum or on EVM chains, right? Like Emerald. Then we have an example of Oasis Web Wallet. So you will notice that you can create a new wallet. You can open a wallet even from your Ledger account. We recently actually got approved, and you can now natively run the Oasis app on Ledger, so you don't need to go through this stuff with developer options enabled and so on. So basically, our app is available to you, to all the users of Ledger now by default, let's say, without any developer options enabled anymore. So it's pretty easy, cool, and secure to do that, to open your wallet via our web wallet on your Ledger device. Now, how to open a wallet? You have several options. If you have mnemonics, you can use these 24 words or private key. Sometimes people export private key from browser extension. Sometimes people transform or translate or generate private key from mnemonics, right? Or you can use Ledger, right? So that's a third option. Now, sending, receiving transactions, that's not a big deal, right? But essentially, if you're starting somewhere or from scratch, you want to know that this is your public address. So essentially, everyone can see this address, everyone can see the balance on this address, and so on. But not everyone can send or receive or manage this address, right? So only people with, if you share your private key or mnemonics with your maybe parents and so on, they can also access then this address, right? So always keep that mnemonics or private key safe, maybe written on a paper or in a secure box or on a bank, I don't know. But essentially, you want to keep that secure, that nobody actually get an access to. So yeah, you can send the rows, you can see the history here. And then you have something called staking rows. That's probably the interesting part here. Sometimes it's called delegation, right? So because you delegate your rows to increase the stack on validators, so you help to secure the network. So just like with proof of work, when you have multiple nodes and so on contributing to secure the network, here is a stake, right? That's proof of stake. So when you delegate, you help to secure the network, right? So you can do that on web wallet. Now on browser extension, we have also functionality like create a new wallet. You can open or restore the wallets. You can send and receive the rows and also delegate. But here we have another function which is crucial if you're using some dApps on Emerald network, because you can transfer your rows between consensus and Emerald, right? So that's pretty awesome and the easiest way how to do it. So maybe just the best practice when you will be, or when you want to try use some depths on Emerald, the best thing is that you send the rows to your consensus layer and then use our browser extension and send these rows from consensus layer to Emerald Paradigm. I think that's the easiest and the most secure way to do it, right? Okay, so yeah, there you have some options what to do in extension and how to delegate, undelegate, and so on, right? And how to manage your accounts. So, for example, if you want to import Ethereum compatible account for Emerald usage, if you want to add multiple Oasis, consensus layer accounts, you can import a lot of them. Even the Ledger accounts, you can actually import Ledger account to browser extension and use the same account on the browser extension then. Yeah. Cool. So there are quite a lot of stuff in the module 2 about the our official wallets. Okay. Of course, there are other wallets available, third-party wallets, mobile wallets, but they're not official. Keep that in mind. Maybe we will get official mobile wallet in the future, which would be really cool. So, but yeah, keep in mind, currently we have 2 official wallets, web and browser extension. Then we have module 3 about transferring rows. So you can imagine, if you try to receive some rows, let's say you have your friend, you say, oh, can you send me some rows so I can participate in NFT minting or something, right? Can you send me your rows on my address, right? So you can do it on consensus layer with Oasis 1 addresses, or you can actually say to them, can you send me, some rows directly to my Ethereum compatible address on Emerald network, right? So both things are possible when you're sending rows from one address to another, right? But when you're transferring rows from consensus to Emerald, then you should use the browser extension, this option between consensus to Paradigm. So yeah, that's pretty cool. There is one example how to transfer rows from consensus to consensus or from consensus to Paradigm. So essentially you will notice you have a tab Paradigms. You can click 2 Paradigms and you just enter the amount in the Paradigm or Ethereum compatible address here and click next and transfer to confirm, and you will see in your MetaMask or even if you're using Brave browser, you have a wallet integrated. So if you add the Emerald network, you will see all these rows as a balance. Cool. Then delegating or staking rows to validator, it's not a rocket science. So you can always go to staking in your browser extension. You can check the active validators. You can choose any validator. So for sake of let's say decentralization, maybe you can choose one that it's that suits your commission rate, let's say 5-10%. And then maybe check someone that it's not maybe on the top, because we want to keep, let's say, decentralized network, right? Cool. You can also undelegate. Keep in mind when you do undelegation or debinding, it's or unstaking, it takes approximately 14 days, or there are 336 hours, to receive your rows back to your original account. Okay, keep that in mind. Then we have module 4, which is actually about our Oasis blockchain explorers. So essentially, what you need to know is that we have, basically 2 or 3 different explorers. So you can imagine explorers for consensus layer. So you have this Oasis scan and Oasis monitor, right? So both explorers can be used to enter your consensus layer addresses or consensus layer transactions, and then you can dive deeper on what was happening with this address, what was happening with some transaction. Was it consensus to consensus? Was it paratime to consensus layer, right? So you have a lot of options to dive deeper on blockchain transactions. Then we have another one, Oasis Monitor. Okay, that's also the consensus layer block explorer, and you can do pretty much the same things. But yeah, each block explorer has some pros and cons. You can use any of these, right? Then you have, I will jump into Emerald Block Explorer now, because also Emerald has basically two explorers, right? One is for mainnet, so if you go to explore.emerald.oasis.dev, this is Block Explorer for Emerald. And if you go to testnet, so basically testnet.explore.emerald.oasis.dev, you will have the testnet, or let's say Block Explorer for testnet. Now, why you should use testnet Block Explorer? Because if you're developing on testnet, you want to have the testnet Block Explorer to see the transactions, smart contract calls, minting, and so on, right? So it's pretty cool that you understand when to use which block explorer, right? Okay, yeah, cool. So these block explorers for Emerald, they support, of course, the Ethereum compatible, addresses, because it's for EVM blockchain. So again, you can. What I'm using the most, let's say, these block explorers is when you are actually minting maybe NFT. You can check if you have NFT on your address. If you are bridging some tokens, if you are, let's say, buying some tokens that are on Emerald, you can always use, let's say, your address, and then enter your address to Block Explorer, and you will see what your address holds, right? So you see it can have multiple tokens, or even if you want to check smart contract, let's say of breached USDC, you can search for the USDC and check which address or which smart contract address is correct one to be used to import your tokens to MetaMask or so on, right? So it's pretty cool to know how to use these block explorers, right? Now, I will not go to these details about transactions. You can dive deeper on that. I just want to go through, the last portion, or the last module actually, where I want to, show people what's going on in the, Oasis ecosystem essentially. So you will notice that for Emerald, we are using the MetaMask as a wallet or as a preferred choice, right? To, for example, connect to the network, to transfer assets on Emerald, to sign transaction, to confirm transactions, right? So MetaMask is used on Emerald paratime to actually use the network, right? To use the dApps. Okay, so nowadays, if you want to get parameters for that network, you can go to our documentation page, and we have two buttons. To simply click these buttons, and the network will be automatically added to your MetaMask, which is much more user-friendly than entering all these chain ID, RPCs, and so on, right, that we used to do, right? Okay, then we have, one of the first, actually, the first community built, DEX Uniswap. There are, of course, many others built on the Emerald, but keep in mind that when you are swapping different tokens, always check liquidity. Because yes, it happens that sometimes you're bridging an asset, then there is no liquidity and so on. always check liquidity first, right? Cool. So yeah, you can check the user swap. There are many options, not only for swapping, but also you can liquidity mine, you can do trade mining when you're swapping and so on. So it's pretty cool DEX, supported also by Oasis. Now, that's probably the most, I will not say complicated, but when you try to bridge some assets from other chains to Emerald, you will be able to use some bridges. Okay, so bridge is what is used to transfer assets like Ethereum, like USDC, USDT to Emerald. Okay, so we have C-Bridge and we have, let's say, Portal by Wormhole. So both bridges are actually, let's say, bridging assets to Emerald. Okay, and then always again check the liquidity that you are sure that the asset that you're bridging, with this specific or one of these specific bridges actually has liquidity, or that the smart contract actually has enough, let's say, USDCs, USDTs, and so on, right? Because remember, each bridge will have their own smart contract for, let's say, USDT. Yeah, so keep that in mind. If you will be using C-Bridge or Portal, and if you're using the, let's say, USDT or USDC, let's say, from Ethereum network, and you try to do a transfer or bridging from two different bridges, the end result on the Emerald will not be the same. So there will be two different USDCs. Always then check the smart contract and, of course, liquidity, which one is the best to use. Yeah. Okay, there is some cool protocol, Fontaine protocol. It's for cross-chain lending. So you can borrow money, you can lend money, you can actually, so it's also integrated with Uniswap, so you can actually do so-called dual farming. Well, you actually get two rewards basically in FTP token and user and so on. So this is pretty cool. You can test that out. And coming to the end of this quick overview, we also have, you probably know better than I do probably, right? If you're the active member of our community, if you're trading, if you're buying, if you're collecting the NFTs, right? We have MetaMirror, so that's essentially NFT or even Web3 marketplace where you have your gallery of NFTs. You can buy NFTs, you can trade NFTs. And recently, right, we also introduced so-called confidential NFTs or private NFTs, which, by the way, I will have a speech on Wednesday about why confidential NFTs are the future of Web3, I believe. And yeah, keep in mind that in this situation, you actually own some data which are private only to you and not to everyone on public blockchain, right? So last but not least, right, Oasis docs, we're trying to document things like how to build on Emerald, how to build your first dApp, how to transfer rows, how to bridge assets on our docs.oasis.dev. So if you're a developer, if you want to maybe even research more about our, let's say, products or our backend and so on, there are documentation page, docs.oasis.dev. And also we have Discord. You are welcome to join. Obviously, you know how to join the Discord, right? So anyone who's interested in, maybe some support, help, directions, or any kind of interaction with us, welcome to our Discord channel. And yeah, that's basically it from my side, from my presentation. And now, if we have some questions, right? I want to help your actually answer some of this, right? So I hope that was a cool overview. Oh, by the way, before I go to Q&A, right? if I go back to our developer academy, let's say, or actually it's a dev portal. Um, when you go through these courses, there's pretty one cool stuff. So if you want to, you can take a quiz. Um, I actually prepared. I would say not too easy, but not too difficult, right? Quiz. If you go through and if you have the correct answers, which by the way are all inside the courses, inside the slides, then you can actually win $300 in Rose tokens. So if you open the quiz, let me show you how it looks like. Oh, um, we will have to update the link, guys. So the quiz actually is around 19 or 20 questions. So essentially, let me see, quiz. I can show you. No, actually, I shouldn't because I have the answers here. So no. So yeah, essentially 19 to 20 questions. And if you answer them correctly, you have a chance to win $300. So learn about Oasis, learn about our products, and you know you have pretty good chance to not only win that, but to be a future, highly available or highly, uh, you know, respected developer or wanted developer, right? So that's our goal, to get the most and the best people on Oasis, and at the end that you become valuable asset in this world building on blockchain on Oasis network. Cool. So yeah, thanks for listening. And now I will maybe just open my chat and let me see. Do we have some questions? Um, Let me see. Okay, everyone. Okay, I don't see any questions actually in my chat. So if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and speak up, or if anyone has anything to add, um, I'm happy to help, or maybe just a feedback actually. So no one. What about our team? Anything to say? Okay, so I hope you get an idea what our portal is built for, why we're doing that, and keep in mind that many more will come, right? So currently, for starting, we have Emerald course and Oasis 101 that I walk you through. And Cypher is coming, and probably Parcel is coming, and many more, right? So that's just the beginning, another area where we actually believe it must be done. So evangelize the blockchain, evangelize the onboarding process, and of course the awesome technology that will be needed to support Web3. Cool. Oh, perfect. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so one example is, of course, I think we will have not only one, but probably more articles, maybe on Medium, or even I will actually create maybe some docs about that. Essentially, with confidential NFTs, right? There is one example, Army of Minions, where you actually have an NFT on Marketplace, And if you're owner of that NFT, you can actually, let's say, download the NFT and the data that belongs to that NFT. So essentially, when you download, let's say, so what you see on a marketplace is actually just one low resolution, image that it's not the real NFT. It's just a presentation or preview, right? But in reality, if you're owner of that NFT, you can download the content and the source code. So essentially, if you're owner of confidential NFT, you can download this NFT and you get high resolution, for example, art and any, let's say, data that belongs to that. So essentially, you get actually the archive, like zip format. Inside that zip format can be, multiple files, and these multiple files were actually, hosted on Parcel, because user then have option, um, you know, to define the policy how this NFT and this data can be shared. So essentially, you can share some data. It could be your healthcare data. So one example was that army of millions, but another one is actually Genetica. So if you heard about our partnership with Genetica, they actually use your health data, so you can actually send your health data to their laboratory. They can analyze your health data, and in return, you get rewarded. So basically, you allow access to your health data, which is not revealed, by the way. So it's still, encrypted while analyzed and so on, right? But yeah, the idea behind confidential NFTs that not everything is public on public blockchain, but for example, source code of maybe one mathematical function, or sensitive data like blood pressure, social security numbers, your birth date, your balance of account, or maybe your when you want to loan or borrow some money for student loans, for example, you have some kind of rate or grade of how capable you are of repaying the loan and so on, which is confidential, so you don't need to over collateralize that loan, essentially, right? So this is quite a future, how I see it, because we don't want to share all the data uh, publicly on blockchains, even though nowadays we do kind of, because when we map NFT to our wallet, uh, and if somebody knows, okay, that's my wallet, everybody can see, okay, Gasper has, tens of thousands of NFTs of Rose or whatever it is, right? So we want to keep some things private, and that's why confidential NFTs are here. And maybe even further, right? Currently, we have these EVM chains and Ethereum and so on, but we just introduced the Sapphire, the confidential EVM chain, which enables by default, let's say, with built-in privacy, that you build some stuff on EVM blockchain that is private and public. So you can keep some private data private, encrypted, let's say natively on our confidential EVM chain. Hope that helps. Cool. Okay, if nothing else, then I can say thank you for participate. Oh, maybe I just opened the chat. Do you maybe know if deposits, withdrawals will ever be available from centralized exchanges? Yeah, I believe so. Since I see the answer, so the question is if the deposits and withdrawals from centralized exchanges will be supported, right, for Emerald. I believe in the future, yes, but currently still the best practice is to withdraw first to consensus layer address, so from centralized exchange to your consensus address, and then transfer to Emerald, and then use these rows on dApps. But yeah, essentially that's what we want. But it's a process, right, that exchanges implement different chains or EVM chains. Yeah. There was a question if the tools and methods for developing on Cypher are similar to Sapphire. Actually, Cypher it's totally different thing. So you can compare Sapphire to Emerald. So essentially, the tools to develop on Sapphire are the same as for developing on Emerald. So that's a huge benefit because people know how to develop on EVM chains, right? Yeah, for Cypher, of course, you need to build your environment yourself, essentially Rust, and yeah, some other dependencies so for example, you need Oasis CLI, and yeah, to compile the smart contracts from Rust to WebAssembly, and then to deploy that to testnet or mainnet on Cypher. Cool. Kind of interesting to know if Sapphire is being direction at any large corporation. Currently, we just launched the Sapphire, so I can't talk about any direction or partnerships or so on. But yeah, you can expect if you just think about it, right? So we have EVM chains, but currently none of them are actually offering some kind of privacy or confidentiality, right? So for that reason, we're not I will say one of the, but we are the first. We are actually the leader here, introducing that confidential EVM chain. So the possibilities, the ideas, the new projects are basically unlimited, because nowadays only examples, or let's say products or dApps or so on applications are introduced only on public blockchain, right, on Emerald and so on, other EVM chains. But Sapphire will actually change the game, right? So now you will have a lot of use cases that people will be willing to participate because they will feel safer. They will feel that blockchain, or let's say Oasis, is protecting some of their data, and that people who will be using this, right, can actually control their own data, right? So that's actually our end goal, that the user who's the owner of the data can actually control this data, and can decide if I want to share or not my data, if I want to get compensated or rewarded for sharing my data. So that's the end goal, and we're actually getting closer and closer. So yeah, I'm very excited. Thanks, Promac. So we shall actually ask, how is Sapphire Part different from Cypher? So again, Sapphire essentially is like Emerald. So it's like EVM compatible blockchain. Okay. Now, the development is done in Solidity, and all the tools like Hardhat, like Truffle, like Remix. So all these tools can be used on Sapphire, right? But with Cypher, you are writing smart contracts in Rust, and you compile that Rust smart contract to WASM, right? And it's a bit different approach, of course, because Cypher has these two states, private or in public. So we have actually an example on the docs.oasis.dev under the I will show you. Actually, I can go to docs documentation, and on the first page on the documentation, down below you can go to Oasis core documentation. No, just a second. On the Oasis SDK documentation, sorry, because it's about Oasis CLI and Rust. So Oasis SDK documentation, and then you have Hello World and confidential Hello World. Okay. So hello world is example of how to build, let's say, with Rust smart contract, deploy that smart contract to test it on Cypher. Okay, and this is not confidential. Okay, you will notice that by I will show you this and then we will finish the session. But there is public. Let me public. Yeah, there it is. There is public cell. So you see constructor counter public cell. It means that it's a public state. Yeah. But if you go to confidential hello world, you will notice that public cell will be replaced with confidential cell. Okay, so essentially this confidential hello world is an example of a smart contract that will be deployed to Cypher testnet, and it will have some confidential state or part inside the smart contract which is running on Cypher. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Cool. I hope that answered your questions, guys. I can only say stick with us and check this portal. So essentially, the Oasis developer portal. Many more things are coming, and what you will see also, my plan or my end game plan is to evolve that to the real academy like portal where you will actually go through different courses, and at the end you will get actually an NFT actually instead of a certificate, right? That you are, let's say, Oasis, let's say, certified, or that you have knowledge from specific, maybe EVM blockchain development or Cypher with Rust smart contracts and that, in that stuff. So essentially, my idea is that you will get this NFT as a proof that you, worked on specific, course, and that you finished the course with, sufficient knowledge, passing, let's say, one exam and so on, right? And then you will get like an additional value in the blockchain world, because believe me, the people who are knowledgeable in blockchain world are very valuable, and people are looking for that kind of guys that you are, right? Cool. If anyone wants to add anything from my team, please welcome. Otherwise, I will finish the session, because I think now we're a bit over the planned time. But I hope it was interesting session, guys. Cool. So yeah, thank you, and see you in another session, guys. Bye.